Purdue basketball has lost three straight games, three consecutive games. They had that late collapse to UCLA on January 21st, an 88-82 home loss to number 11 Illinois at the time on January 24th, where Keaton Wagler scored 46 points in that game, and then a 72-67 defeat at Indiana. This streak dropped them from a top 5 team to number 12 with a 17-4 overall record, now 7-3 in the Big Ten. This puts pressure on them in the conference and their title hopes, and other teams like Illinois and Michigan State starting to pull ahead. Now, Michigan State, they had their own struggle with Rutgers, but they did come out and win that game. Even though it went to overtime and everything, they still came out and won that game. Purdue on that 3-game skid right now. They were previously a 1-loss team, and these close defeats, all by a total margin of 18. 3 defeats, all by a total margin of 18, give Purdue a bit of a mid-season slump here, right? January slump, if you will, what's kind of unraveling at Purdue. Now, there's been issues during this slump and kind of what's been going on. Late game execution has definitely been one of those things. They kind of collapsed in crunch time a little bit. The UCLA game, the Indiana game, they came back a little bit in that one, but still weren't able to do as much. Illinois pulled ahead with a lot of firepower on offense. Yes, Keaton Wagler scored a lot of points, but at the end of the game, it really wasn't Keaton just going crazy. It was Jake Davis and some of those other guys hitting threes, and Purdue not doing a great job switching, getting on to their next man, and closing out on the shooters. The Illinois five-man out kind of offense really was giving them a hard time there. Once they started to pressure Clough on the perimeter a little bit more, that was giving them a hard time. And one of the reasons that you look at one of these struggles is because you're not getting the consistent play out of your big three. Now, I'm not targeting Braden Smith here. Braden Smith has been really, really good this season, if not one of the best players, if not the best player in the country. At times during this season, he has been really, really special, as we know Braden Smith is. The problem is that Fletcher Loyer has not been special. Fletcher Loyer has been in a slump the last few games. Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's been in a bit of a slump. Now, he did get, what was that? I think 24 or 25 against Indiana, but only a handful of rebounds, just not enough rebounding out there, and some issues on the perimeter with his defense as well. It's been a struggle for Purdue. Their perimeter defense has suffered, and when you switch them off and get them onto the right matchups, teams are doing a good job of taking advantage of that. On the offensive end, Purdue is struggling with their jump shots. Seems to be over relying on those jump shots. I've never really loved the over reliance on the jump shots, but they were hitting them earlier in the season, and so you can't really complain about it. You're 17-1. You're hitting your jump shots. You're forcing other teams to take jump shots as well, which is always helpful. But when you face a team like Illinois, who they don't take jump shots, they just take threes, that can really get you into some issues. Same thing with Indiana. Indiana was knocking down their threes, and the course that arena, Assembly Hall, that hall was rocking when they were hitting their threes there, which made it even harder for Purdue in that situation. And overall, it's some of the defensive lapses as well. Donovan Dent really kind of took off in the second part of that first half, and then into the second half as well. He kind of took off and became that star that they needed him to. And then Keaton Wagler, the way he was able to switch off his defenders against Purdue and really just get whatever matchups he wanted. Purdue's probably going to have to rethink some of their screen games, because you just can't leave Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn out there on the perimeter against guys like Keaton Wagler. Now, normally they have a better height advantage in those situations, but with Keaton Wagler at 6'6" and his kind of dagger ability to hit those 3-pointers, which were multiple steps back from the 3-point line, at a certain point, there wasn't anything you could do about that. Honestly, I'm more critical of Purdue, kind of switching and not being able to get out on their man on the pick and pop with Jake Davis and some of those other guys at the end of the Illinois game, more so than I am kind of, picking at what they did with Keaton Wagler, because some of those shots that Wagler was taking, those were just him hitting them. It wasn't bad defense or anything. Yeah, they were sagging off him a little bit, but he was also 2 or 3 steps behind the 3-point arc in some of those situations. So what are you going to do? Maybe you start putting one of the other guys on him, but Braden Smith doesn't have the size to guard a Keaton Wagler, and Fletcher Loyer, as long as he's struggling on offense, we see some of his struggles on defense as well. And they really didn't have anybody that matched up well with Wagler. Jakari Harris and some of those guys, they didn't have the height to be able to go up against him. And there's not a ton of Waglers out there, right? That's kind of what the thought process was with the first two losses of Illinois and UCLA. It's like, what are you going to do? Donovan Dent finally turns into the 5-star transfer portal player that we all thought he was, and he starts pulling that out. Keaton Wagler, I mean, he's hitting shots from 2-3 steps behind the three-point arc. What are you going to do? But it was that Indiana game where Indiana was just playing with so much pace and effort and shooting the three-pointer so well, and just quite frankly out-rebounding Purdue. There is no reason why this Purdue front court with Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn should be having issues rebounding over guys like Reed Bailey and Tucker DeVries out there. Yes, Tucker DeVries is a good player, but he is not a consistent 4 for you in the Big Ten, and Reed Bailey is not a consistent 5 for you in the Big Ten. Now, he doesn't always play the 5, but he does play the 5 a good amount. And in those situations, Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn should have been able to grab some more of those boards and bring them down. And that was one of the main issues that you saw in that game. As far as fixing the issues, they need to recommit to the inside out offense. They need to emphasize their post ups. They need to get back into the pick and roll with Trey Kaufman-Renn, Oscar Clough, and Daniel Jacobson needs to be involved in this as well. And they need to do a good job of drawing fouls and getting to the free throw line too, and get the other team's big men in some trouble as well. That's going to help them to be able to get down low, get away from all those jump shots and everything. And if you're going to take a jump shot, hit a 3, right? Now, Matt Painter obviously realizes that his team is able to hit the jumper really well, and that's something those guys are comfortable with. So you don't want to take it away. I'm not saying Purdue needs to turn into Illinois and basically only shoot within the paint or behind the three-point arc. Like they're not an NBA offense or anything like that, but I do think you have to make the pick and roll more of a threat. You have to establish it as more of a threat in some of these games. Yes, they do a good job of getting out in transition, and Braden Smith is doing a good job with that, and him getting to the basket, passing out. Obviously, he's going to rack up the assists, but put him in some of those easier situations to help them out. Not that they aren't doing pick and roll right now. I just want to see more of it. I want to see more of it in those kind of late time executions. Get to your bread and butter, get to what you do best, and one of the things that's most reliable for you. They need to improve that late game management as well. Focus on reducing the turnovers. They need to have some better free throw shooting as well. The clutch defense has been an issue in these games too. In that Indiana game, in that Illinois game, like I said, it wasn't just Keaton Wagler at the end of the game. And quite honestly, they need to increase their physicality, right? I'm not saying get more physical and get fouls, but I am saying get more physical to get rebounds, and also be more physical down low to try and draw fouls as well. Aim to foul out some of the rival, players in the post and some of these guys. You should not be having the issues rebounding and having the issues down low against Indiana that you were, because quite frankly, Purdue's front court was just far superior to Indiana's this season. But Indiana's came out, they looked like they wanted it more. They played better in that game. And so there's not really much you can do. So 10 Big Ten games left for this team. They need to really find out where they're at, what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, if you're a Purdue fan, if you're this Purdue team, don't panic, right? This is not a time to panic for them. Recovery is feasible at this point. Are they going to win the Big Ten? Probably not, but at the same time, Purdue overcame 7-2 or worse starts to the Big Ten, and they still won the title in 2010, 2017, 2019, and 2024 under Matt Painter. So, that 2018 team, they also rebounded from a 3-game losing skid as well. So right now they're at plus 2,500 to win the Big Ten on FanDuel. That makes them 5th in the Big Ten. That's really where you see the drop off first start to happen. I think plus 800 is the team right in front of them. I think that might be Michigan State or Illinois, one of those two. Pretty sure Nebraska's 3rd at this point in there. Go check it out if you want to go bet on it. But they're still in Big Ten contention, even though it does look a little bleak right now. The Big Ten is a very difficult league. You have a team like Michigan State struggling in overtime against Rutgers, right? Illinois is on a winning streak right now, but Illinois, they tend to falter at some point with some of this stuff. Nebraska just lost to Michigan, and Michigan, they've proved that they have some weaknesses as well, and they're not completely healthy right now. So who knows, right? But just focus on yourself, win your games, get out there. And as far as the tournament goes with the NCAA tournament and everything, yeah, you want to worry about seeding, you want to get that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, there are so many teams that can make it far in the tournament with so many different seeds. As long as you're not dropping to a 5 or a 6 seed or anything like that, and I don't see Purdue dropping there, especially if they continue to play their game and recover from this. You're going to be just fine. Get a top 4 seed at the very least, aim for the Sweet 16, and just keep going, keep improving, keep getting there. This is a team that has the talent and has the players to be able to win a national championship. They just need to get there, and they just need to make it happen. So see the resilience for the growth, see the physicality for the growth, and I think over time, it'll be okay for Purdue. Again, do I think they're going to win the Big Ten? I wouldn't bet on them to win the Big Ten this season. But if you're somebody that says, hey, they've been through worse before, and they, look at 2010, 2017, 2019, maybe not worse, but similar in those years, 2024, and they were still able to win the Big Ten. I'm not saying they're out of the question yet, but at the end of the day, I think this team is going to have the most, description of success in the NCAA tournament. So just get that top 4 seed. They'll be fine. Matt Painter's been through this before. He's been able to recover.